It started with the missing hikers. 6 people vanished within a 3-month span in the dense Appalachian wilderness. Rangers found their campsites abandoned, gear still there, food untouched. Then came the bodies, torn apart, shredded beyond recognition. The local sheriff claimed bear attacks, but no bear left tracks like these, and no bear claw matched the depth of those wounds. That's when we got the call. We're the Phantom Unit, a shadow team that doesn't officially exist, formed from intelligence branches that don't leave paper trails. When the regular agencies run out of answers, they send us, because we hunt what the world isn't ready to believe in. Our latest mission took us to an isolated stretch of the Blue Ridge. Locals whispered about lights in the forest, strange sounds, old bloodlines, and ominously cursed places. The deeper we looked, the more it pointed to one location, an abandoned Victorian mansion. Built in the late 1700s, used as a field hospital during the Revolution, it had since rotted back into the earth. But beneath it, there were tunnels, a vast stone cellar carved deep into the bedrock, older than the house itself. Older, maybe, than the country. Our tracking dog, genetically enhanced, one of a kind, locked onto something down there, something ancient and alive. The mission brief had seemed simple. Investigate a string of disappearances.
Your objective is clear. Infiltrate, secure the target, and extract. No deviations.
Locals, campers, even an off-duty sheriff's deputy. Mauled bodies left in twisted heaps. No typical predator had done this. Reports whispered of something with yellow eyes, fast enough to outpace bullets.
Captain, movement inside. Faint.
Copy, Vance replied, his voice calm, clipped. Masks on, prep for breach. We readied canisters of experimental neurotoxin, designed not to kill, but to sedate and weaken. We'd learned the hard way. You can't fight these things head on, not when they're riding on borrowed flesh. With a hiss, gas flooded the old cellar. Once a root cellar, now an overgrown cavern mouth yawning beneath the foundation. Stones black with moss, ancient roots threading through fractured walls. Minutes dragged. No sound, no motion. Phantom 1, move. Weapons raised, we advanced into the dark earth. The temperature plummeted. Breath frosted inside our masks. Our boots crunched old bones and shattered glass beneath centuries of rot. Sudden movement. Fast. A blur of gray muscle erupted from the gloom, claws flashing. We reacted instinctively. Controlled bursts lighting the shadows. The creature was monstrous. Elongated limbs, too many joints bending the wrong way. Matted fur streaked with filth. Yet its eyes were still, disturbingly human, locked in a rage of pain and hunger. Our internal comms buzzed. Target classified. Lycanthrope Variant, Delta grade. Not a true werewolf, a lesser breed. Corrupted human host, possessed by an ancient Nephilim spirit, bound through dark ritual, a soldier's nightmare. Rook lunged, jaws clamping around the creature's calf. It howled, an unearthly sound, neither man nor beast. The second of hesitation was all we needed. Vance fired a tranquilizer dart into the exposed neck. Moments later, the beast collapsed in a heap. The air grew still. We swept the chamber, weapons high. No second target. Vance knelt by the unconscious body, peeling back torn fabric from its forearm. There, seared into the flesh, was a symbol. A serpent entwined with an ancient sigil, one we knew too well.
It's them. The families.
A chill ran through us. The old bloodlines, the ones who trafficked in the darkest rites, with roots that stretched back to the Nephilim themselves, cults that controlled governments and wars alike. And now, this thing was their agent. We found another brand. The hunt had just escalated. The branded symbol we found on the creature's charred remains set everything in motion. It was the second symbol we found, which meant there's multiple factions at play. Part sigil, part ancient family crest, with interwoven patterns eerily reminiscent of Sumerian and Canaanite glyphs. The center depicted a black sun, flanked by 2 stylized angelic figures with serpent tails. We had seen this mark before, buried in archived Phantom intelligence reports dating back to the 1950s. Files marked restricted, eyes only, connected to an old investigation into a lineage of European families known simply as the Blooded Houses. For centuries, these families have operated in shadows, aristocratic bloodlines claiming descent from the Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen. The evidence was sparse, fragmented across stolen Vatican scrolls, intercepted occult transmissions, and eyewitness accounts suppressed by global intelligence services. According to what we'd pieced together, these blooded houses believe they hold dominion over Earth by divine right, a legacy bestowed through their ancient, corrupted heritage. They worship the fallen, commune with them through blood rites, and have infiltrated every level of modern society: finance, politics, defense sectors, and even religious institutions. And more than that, they had built a breakaway civilization, hidden beneath the skin of our world. Taxpayer money, black budgets, siphoned through classified Pentagon programs and global banking networks, had funded secret underground cities interconnected across North America and Europe. The Devil's Backbone was one such node in that network, the central artery beneath the US where these entities could operate unseen. The branded creature was their thrall, a hybrid soldier enhanced through occult practices and advanced biochemistry. The creature's physiology revealed synthetic augmentations, neural implants, adrenal glands expanded beyond natural limits, and signs of genetic splicing. It wasn't just ancient magic at work. This was cutting-edge science fused with ritual sorcery. Our dog's keen senses picked up more traces, faint trails of similar scents, leading deeper into the earth. Determined, we mobilized fast, deploying surveillance drones and encrypted intercepts. And that's when the first solid intel came through. A name: Avery Blackmore. The Blackmore family was one of the lesser-known branches of the Blooded Houses, mid-level players in the grand scheme, but deeply embedded within European banking circles and certain covert US tech conglomerates. Avery himself had a darker reputation. Whispers of hosting gatherings in remote estates, where select cultists experimented with human enhancement through possession rituals. His family crest matched the symbol burned into the were-creature's body. But here's the terrifying truth. Only those of purest blood could maintain control during demonic possession. Those with weaker ties often became permanent vessels.
It never stood a chance.
Monstrous things no longer fully human. The creature we had fought was one such failure, a pawn discarded after losing the internal battle for its soul. Among the blooded elite, this was seen as acceptable risk, a necessary price for transcending human limits. Worse still, we confirmed that Blackmore wasn't working alone. Other blooded houses were converging on American soil for something larger, a major rite. Our intercepts referenced an ancient phrase, the raising of the forgotten king. We didn't know exactly what that meant yet, but patterns in the intel pointed toward coordinated movements.
Destination locked. Sector core unrestricted.
Through underground transport networks spanning from abandoned missile silos in the Midwest to long-forgotten rail tunnels beneath the East Coast. These were the old corridors of the Devil's Backbone, and we were tracking the hunt straight to their heart. We swept the site after the engagement, recovering samples, mapping the subterranean layout. But the deeper we went, the older the stone looked. No concrete, no modern utilities. The very walls began to resemble ancient catacombs rather than a cellar. That's when we found the vault. It was half collapsed, a thick steel door torn open by something with unnatural force. Inside, among the crumbling archives and old filing cabinets, we discovered a single black case, marked only with a faded insignia, a triangle surrounding an eye, overlaid with a serpent. Inside, military files, dated 1949, 1951, stamped top secret. Pages yellowed with age. The words that chilled us were typed on the front page. Collins Elite, investigation log. I'd heard whispers about the Collins Elite during my years in intelligence, but nothing concrete. Officially, they didn't exist. Rumors placed them as an unofficial task force, formed in the shadows of the early Cold War. Their mission? Not to track Soviet spies, but to monitor and suppress occult activity within the US homeland, specifically connections between rocket science, ritual magic, and paranormal incursions. The documents referenced Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, mentions of the infamous Babylon working in the Mojave Desert. What shocked us was their operational theory, that many UFO reports, unexplained aerial phenomena, and non-human encounters weren't extraterrestrial, but demonic. Entities summoned, accidentally or deliberately, through arcane rites tied to ancient bloodlines. Then, pages torn out, gaps in the file, no records of what happened to the team. Had the Collins elite been compromised, infiltrated, destroyed? The mystery deepened when our tech officer decrypted an old map fragment embedded in the case. It showed a network, an entire underworld beneath the Devil's Backbone. Annotations in old military code named the tunnels, the old corridors. And this is where the revelation hit us hard. These tunnels didn't just lead beneath that house. They extended for miles. Old military installations, abandoned sites, now repurposed by the cult. What the Collins elite had stumbled onto decades ago, we were now standing inside of. But they'd vanished before they could act. Had the same dark forces claimed them? We needed answers, and fast. So we pushed deeper. What followed was the most brutal part of the mission yet. The old corridors weren't empty. Breaching further into the underground was like descending through history. The walls were stone and earth at first, then ancient brickwork, black with age. Vaulted ceilings, iron gates warped by something stronger than human hands. These were the old corridors of the Devil's Backbone, and we were tracking the hunt straight to their heart. Something wasn't right. The deeper we pushed, the thicker the atmosphere became. The air itself seemed charged, heavy, almost vibrating. Our comms began to glitch. Even our trained canine started behaving erratically, whining, alerting towards something we couldn't yet see. That's when we spotted the next sign. Ritual markings burned into the stone, symbols we recognized from ancient grimoires, blood sigils, and next to them another branded insignia, the serpent triangle, but altered. This wasn't just a random cult. This was tied to those ancient bloodlines, the families. Legends said these were the descendants of Nephilim, offspring of the fallen. Over millennia, they had infiltrated power structures, manipulated governments, and carved out entire underground networks, funded by black-budget programs. They believed they were the rightful rulers of mankind, through blood, through power, through their pact with darkness. Some of their members, those of purer blood, could withstand possession. They could channel the dark entities they summoned, controlling them without losing themselves. Others, not so lucky. That's where the lesser werewolves came in. Type 2 transmogrification entities, or T2s in our classification. Humans enhanced through ancient rites and modern tech, chemicals, cybernetic implants, combined with ritual possession by Nephilim spirits. What emerged was a hybrid, part human, part demon, part machine. No longer rational, no longer sane. The T2 we'd fought at the house was just a scout, a guardian. Down here, we'd find worse. The intel from the Collins elite files gave us a possible target, an ancient chamber labeled Right Hall, Level Omega. If we could reach it, we might uncover how deep this corruption ran and what happened to the old operatives. But between us and that chamber, the tunnels grew darker, colder. That's when we heard them. Whispers, movement, something flanking us, fast. And then, eyes, glowing red, deep in the dark. Dozens. They weren't werewolves. They were the Type V entities. In the Phantom Unit's black files, they're listed as Vricolakus strain, Type V. To civilians, vampires. But not the romantic myths. These were ancient hosts, human bodies, overtaken entirely by predatory spirits of the fallen, sustained for centuries on blood and energy, faster than any human, stronger than any mortal, and highly intelligent. Capable of tactical pack behavior. We'd trained for this. Silver-tipped ammo, ultraviolet bursts, blessed rounds, but nothing prepares you for the first time you see them up close. Skin pale as bone, elongated jaws, eyes burning with malevolence. They struck from the shadows. We engaged. Rounds echoed down the corridor. UV flashes cut through the darkness. The fight was brutal. One of our men downed by a swipe too fast to track, but we held, forced them back. One fell, its body erupting into smoke as the spirit fled, leaving only a withered husk behind. When the dust settled, we found the next clue, a partially preserved body, an old uniform beneath the decay, and the insignia on the sleeve faded, but clear. CE. Collins Elite. The body was ancient, mummified by the cold and whatever dark energies flowed through these tunnels. But there was no mistaking the insignia, Collins Elite. We scanned it, patched it through to HQ for cross-referencing. A response came back almost instantly.
No active files. Team designation unknown. Last reference 1953. No further data.
Officially, the Collins Elite had never existed. Unofficially, they'd been the first to uncover this threat, before MK Ultra, before modern special access programs. What had happened to them? Had they been compromised, silenced, or worse? Had they joined the families? That question hung in the air as we breached deeper into the tunnels. The right hall wasn't far now. The symbols intensified, layered spells older than any written language. The air was thick with sulfur and decay, and then massive iron doors, sealed, marked with the serpent triangle and another glyph we'd only seen in the deepest black files. Sigil of Adnakiel, an archdemon of power and dominion. With tactical charges and an ancient unlocking rite from our esoteric division, we forced the doors. Inside, a cavernous ritual chamber, stone altars, skeletons fused into the walls, a central dais soaked in ancient blood. But what truly chilled us was the tech. Lining the walls were advanced anachronistic machines. Some looked modern, some decades old, and others impossible. Technology beyond current human understanding, integrated with occult sigils, creating a blend of science and sorcery. At the center, a pod-like chamber, stasis technology clearly not ours. Inside, what remained of a human, but not fully human anymore. A hybrid, part T2, part V strain, engineered, and according to the biometrics, barely alive. We began extraction procedures. This could be the breakthrough HQ needed to expose the families once and for all. But then, a transmission, not on any official band, a voice, distorted, deep, inhuman.
You've seen too much, Phantoms. The hunt has only begun.
The chamber began to shake, collapse imminent. We grabbed the data cores, exfiltrated the site, barely making it out as the tunnels caved behind us. But the real shock came back at the debrief. Among the ancient files we recovered, one repeated name stood out, buried in the metadata. Mount Blanca Complex, Sangre de Cristo Range, Colorado. A known hotspot of black-budget militarized cryptid programs. The family's most fortified stronghold, where bioengineered hybrids, super soldiers, and entities far worse than what we'd faced were reportedly in full production. The Devil's Backbone was only an outpost. Colorado was the heart, and so we prepare. New mission, new target. The hunt continues.